So if you are new, I kind of missed that poll when Natale. Did I get that pronunciation pretty close? Natale. Anyway, that's how I like to say Natale. If you're new and this is your kind of first experience with MSI, would you raise your hand? So welcome. And so we're going to be in some way directing this very much to you. So it's designed to be for someone who is not familiar with what we're doing. You haven't been on discourses for 12 years. Anybody been on discourses for 12 years? Look at these people, you see? And then you're saying, what does that mean? That means you're a kind of indentured servant to God. But we'll get into that later. For right now, you can be curious, you can ask questions, you can be reluctant, you can be hesitant, doubtful, all those things, and then we'll make you swear with all your body, mind, and spirit. No, actually, we don't make you do much of anything, really. So I do consider that what we're doing is done in freedom, it's done in openness, that we draw entirely upon who you are from within. Our focus today is the Christ within, which is an excellent topic. Let me turn to my wife, Lee, and I know she's supporting, but she's very adept at all kinds of things. So I'm often learning from her experience, her knowledge and awareness. So what would you say about the Christ within? And you have your own. Oh. For some reason they chose yellow, but if you would like to switch up, if you prefer blue,
I think
Christ
it's on.
color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the Christ within is all there is, and it's a continual journey of discovery of really what that is. And I love the journey. I love the adventure. I think it's a grand adventure. I don't think it's a becoming. I think it's a discovery of what we already are. So that would be what I would say at the moment. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see the faces, to be with you.
And hence, if people are very familiar with the movement of spiritual inner awareness and the vast amount of teachings that we have available, and it is vast, then notice they're around here too. So in some way, we're always being introduced. It's always brand new and open. And there is something that happens when we gather. So thank you for gathering here. We had somewhat of an adventure on the way over here. We thought we were allowing...
We were going to a demonstration, actually.
allowing plenty of time. And then the taxi driver was... We'd already found out there was this demonstration going on today about refugees and people coming from foreign lands, etc. And so then the taxi driver was basically declaring he was going to find the best route possible, and that he drove us to Parliament for some reason, and to me it seemed like that was kind of like the epicenter of the demonstration. So we drove through the demonstration on the way over here.
And we were at a standstill, and John said, I wonder why he chose to come right in the middle of the demonstration. I said, because God wanted you here.
Well, yeah, so I figured that was part of the Christ within experience, is to move right through that and then be focused upon invoking the Christ within. So obviously what we're going to be doing is practicing in the divine presence that we call the Christ. That's something we do directly as much as we can in the movement of spiritual inner awareness. So I'd like to change that word up, because it's something, if we were talking about Jesus as an example, great example, that would be maybe a term that didn't even come to Jesus' ear in his lifetime. You know, I'm not presuming things, but it's Greek in origin. So, you know, that it was some other word that was really spoken of, probably more, however we would say Messiah, and of course that's maybe an American version of that. You know, that it's more like the Mashiach, or someone said, no, that you're not even close, you know, to how it's pronounced. It's like, that's okay, because really I'm more interested in what it is than how it's pronounced. And that we would be able to take it out of the rooms, the great Kanat rooms, which was another discussion, because I think for some reason the taxi driver thought we were Masons on our way.
He asked if we were.
Because I said, well, we're actually the speakers for the gathering. He said, well, are you Masons? And I said, well, we could be, but in any case, here we are, and we're in the light. Are you ready for the moment of peace?
I am.
Would you like to introduce it?
Yes.
You would.
It's really simple. Are we ready, Roger?
Where do we watch? Oh, there we are.
Here we are.
I think it's going to be up here, so.
Yes, so here we are. Moment of Peace with John Roger.
There's just an awful lot of mystery that we don't know. There's a great mystery on the planet. And it is, who will be the next person to understand that they are also Christ? Who's going to be the next one to know they were born the Lord? Who is going to be the next one in this room? In Australia, on the East Coast, north to south, whoever they're watching this, who in your group is going to be the next one? I can tell you how you find out. If you look at that through the eyes of the Master, if you look at that through the eyes of the Master, or you could say, how would Jesus see this person? You will start to see the transformation of the Christ in front of you. You will be absolutely amazed. And not only that, and here's where it gets really strange. No matter what you were to do physically, it would be perfect no matter how bad it looked. Because that perfection would go off on to thousands of years into the future. I would tell you people, get busy and start looking spiritually at people. Start looking with the eyes of loving, the eyes of caring, the eyes of holding people, the eyes of honoring and respecting people. Have that as your format for existence. If you do, other things that you do in your livelihood will all be forgiven. They'll be taken care of by the karmic board. No one of us is going to be exempt as long as we're still growing toenails. You can do what you want to do, as long as what you want to do includes the caring of somebody next to you. Berush Bishan.
So go ahead and include some caring to somebody next to you. Yeah, see? Notice what's going on. There's touching going on. That's an activity of the Christ within. See, when we initiate the caring, I don't want to stop it. You know, so please continue that in your own way. And to the people online
Out there.
eventually,
Yes.
caring.
David Sand.
Go up and get him. All right. A very good demonstration of caring. Thank you.
Excellent.
So let us consider that somehow we also touched the world with that caring just now, and that we could actually extend it so that we had a moment, regardless of our differences, regardless of our opposition, our conflicts, where we would say, for the moment, extend caring to the one next to you or nearby, that would be going on in the world. Even if we're going to get back to the fussing and the fighting and whatever that is, but that we would have this moment. I'm sure you've heard of what happened. I think there's a version of where it happened in World War I. It was Christmas Eve, and that somebody started singing Silent Night in whatever language they sang it in, and then someone on the other line started singing in their language, and then it moved on, so then there was sharing in the field. They came in the field and had a moment of what goes on in Christmas Eve. That's a celebration of the Christ. And to me, that's a demonstration, even if the next day, which would you say, well, this is the day when we celebrate the birth of the Christ. And it's like, well, why would we be going back to the fighting and all of that? We just saw what we could do if we would just extend caring rather than whatever reason they put us here, that kind of thing. And I think that's part of what happens when the master within starts coming out. And, I heard Jer again today charge me with that. When the inner master starts looking through our eyes, something transformational that will go forward in time, that we would do that moment here. And hopefully it's already present, that we don't have to do anything else because it's already here, but we can do something else, so why not? Why not deepen it, strengthen it, make it more powerful, so that in some way we're not able to enter into something that's not of the Christ nature. And that to me is when we take on what Jer was asking, who's going to be the next Christ? Who's going to be the next Lord? The presence of that consciousness, and to know that it is within. So in MSIA, we're engaging the master within, or the inner master, which is also the one who's anointed. So that's part of it, that there is a presence with us that's of this high nature. That's when we start getting a hold of it, it's hard to put words on it because it's something beyond words. So that's my sense of what we're doing today. We have an opportunity to hear from you. We'd like to. And that would be whatever you would like to say in words that in some way expresses your purpose for being here. And we'll ignite something by those of you who choose to share that with us. And you don't have to use the word Christ. But if that's what comes out, that's fine too. But actually, that you came here today, you took your precious opportunity and directed it into this place. And I'm going to include, just so you know, there's people, hopefully, if our technology works, that later when we have the bandwidth opportunity, don't worry if you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but later at some point we'll actually be sharing what we're doing here today with the intention that we're a worldwide community of the Christ within. So is there somebody you'd like to share your purpose in coming here today? And also share your name. We do have a microphone, I see that. So we'll go back here. And please share your purpose.
Hi, I'm Val, and I think the first thing that comes present is gratitude, because I wrote to you recently, and I really feel that I felt such a strong presence in your support, and I would like to feel more of that sense of that inner presence with me all the time, that I think is the Christ, and so I'm here.
Okay.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? And sometimes it's important to do this for yourself, to speak out, to declare what's on purpose for you.
My name is Natalie, and the purpose for me being here is manifold, but primarily for me it's to up my game, to step forward into a greater level of loving and being present with the Christ within, and shifting from the negative places I find inside more quickly into that Christ action. Thank you.
Okay. Right here? Or anywhere.
Hi everyone, I'm Justine. I'm really glad to be here with you all again. Quite excited about coming in today for me. I just knew that I was coming into a place where I was going to feel strengthened again because of the experiences I've had before at meetings. In terms of finding the Christ within, I liked when Lee was talking about the adventure and the discovery. I think that's definitely happening for me at the moment, and I'm more aware of that happening. I like some of the extra clarity that's coming through to me at the moment, and often I find sometimes even if I'm listening to the same seminar again or the same thing again, it seems like a completely different one because I'm in a different place. So the value of being able to come in and share with everybody is great, and actually it just gets better because I'm getting more familiar with sort of what I'm looking for, if that makes any sense, and it becomes more exciting each step I take. So that's why I've come along. I'm becoming very visual about seeing how I can bring forward more of that consciousness inside myself, and actually seeing myself doing that, and also forgiving myself at the moment when I don't do it, because I'm becoming more aware when I am doing it, which is highlighting when I'm not doing it. So that's playing a big part as well. But I'm happy to be here because for many reasons, but in particular, I find when I'm amongst everybody else, I know there's a special sort of strength that's coming forward, and then I go out into the world and people that perhaps don't know anything about MSIA, and I've sort of got that support with me, even though you're all physically elsewhere. So I'm delighted to have that opportunity, and thank you, John, for coming to London.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Martin. I'm here to make the Christ within me a reality, to know it's my refuge, to know that it's there for me whenever I want it to be there, to nurture myself, to forgive myself, to relax, to let go and know that all is right, all is good. And thank you for coming.
Anybody with a hand's fine. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacey. Good to see you, John and Lee. When you said what's your purpose or intention, I could list a lot. But in the last half an hour, the thing that has really struck me is this workshop's called The Christ Within, is it? And you've referred to the Christ a lot. And I'm Jewish, but I don't practice Judaism. And growing up, because of my family setup, I never said the word Christ my whole childhood. So, you know, you'd sing a song and then miss the word Christ out. And so when I came into MSIA, I struggled. But I don't have that issue specifically with the word Christ. But what's really struck me in the last half an hour is how much I limit my own life by words or terminology or people's opinions. And if I kind of don't like it or it doesn't sit right, how I can quite quickly kind of go against it or, kind of my negativity can come out. So I guess my intention for today is to maybe receive some healing, well, not maybe, to receive some healing if it's for my highest good, in those areas where I put up those boundaries and those blocks. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Over here, anywhere?
Hi guys. Nice to see you. In the flesh, as it were. As it were. I assume you're in the flesh, I don't know. I know the traveller's got all kinds of tricks he can pull. Why am I here?
And your name?
I'm here to remember my name. For a start, it's Paul. Paul Hunting. I've been hunting all my life. So many voices in my head. I have to pause to listen to which one is the one I want to bring forward. I guess I have an awareness and a reference point for the Christ within, which is wonderful, and it takes quite an affirmation to claim that and to own that as what it is, and I'm moving into that more and more. What concerns me is that I also have what I would call an antichrist within, and that's the bit that bothers me, because it's something I'm aware of that goes back a long way, way into my childhood and all the way through my, what's the other thing? Childhood and adultery, that's right. And it's still, I say very much with me. It is definitely still with me. And I had an outburst of it just yesterday, in fact, just to set me up for this workshop. And it manifests as
Here's
fury.
what would be good is, what are you here for, rather than what preceded you being here. Let's focus, like you came here for a purpose or an intention that's here now. How would you express that?
Yeah, whatever that is that causes me to lose it and become the Antichrist, the opposite of everything that I really know and love and believe in and want to be more of. Whatever is causing that, I would like that to clear, dissipate, heal, whatever the wound is in there. I'd like that to start clearing up. And my faith level is that simply by sharing this with you, the traveller, that will, grace will come into that place and start that process. Okay. So, no pressure. Thank you.
Yes, any hand up is good.
Hi, John and Lee, and everyone. I'm Louise, and I'm here to connect with my heart and the heart and everyone here, with the MSIA family. I feel like it's my family. And I realise for me, with the Christ, that I'm noticing on my Facebook page, I don't want to put anything with the Christ on it because of my other family, because I brought up Jewish too. And I'm realising, hang on a minute, I believe in the Christ. The Christ is so strong for me. It's something that I discovered years ago at one of the PATs that was like reborn in me. And how do I get past that part of me that is afraid to show my family that, the other, the physical family that I'm with? So I just want to touch in and enjoy the Christ within me today and with everyone here, where I can feel relaxed in it and allow it to be without any fear or any fear of remonstration in any way.
Okay. Let's go back to, we'll go right here, right next door, and then we'll go back to Ruth.
Hello, my name is Moira, and I'm learning to be more in my heart instead of my head. So much in my head because I've been many years in my head, so I'm learning to be more in my love and in my heart. And in these events, I learn to do it more, and they remind me to be more in my spirit and the good things about spirit and nice people, that we all share the love of the Christ. To be honest, I also love to come to London, so that's another reason. Thank you.
Bienvenido. Okay, we'll go back to Ruth over here.
Thanks. Hi, John, Lee, everybody. My name's Ruth, and just thought I'd announce I've legally changed my name to Ruth Rochelle now. It took me a long time. But I thought I'd let the Christ know that I'm still me. I mean, I know the Christ knows. When I got the piece of paper, I sent JR saying, brilliant, you'll come home to me as that name and it doesn't really matter. So anyway, I'm here for some the word that comes up is a balm, like a healing balm. And to really fill myself with the light and take it back into my family. We're dealing with my mum. My mum's quite ill at the moment. So, and so I suppose I'm here to bring that multidimensional part of, like, allow all of it and bring the Christ love for all of it present and to be with my family as well. So thank you, everybody.
Ruth, what's your mother's name?
Oh, Doreen Lederman. Thanks.
All right. We'll come up to Sam, and then we're going to move on to what we have next.
Move on to you. Hello, my name is Sammy Westmacott, and I'm here very simply because you're here. End of.
Okay, I love simplicity. Take a moment to share what you're here for, your purpose.
Every time I show up, it's greater loving. I'm in love with loving and being with all of us. Really, there's no place on earth like, we change physical places a lot, obviously, but it's all this one family of loving, and there's nowhere I'd rather be. So that's why I'm here, to share more.
All right. Let me include myself in my purpose coming here today to be with you as well. That's part of the purpose, to be with you, and to this calling and the invitation to be here. It's also an invitation I consider is with John Roger, with the Line of the Travelers, which is also in this work of the Christ. And that which is anointed. And so it has the authority, the power, and the willingness to do what God would be doing in this world, especially in the flesh. So there's something in the opportunity that we all have as human beings to realize ourselves spiritually, to let that come forth rather than something that's asleep, that's wanting to wake up, willing to wake up, ready to be what that is in the fullness of what it is. And my experience is that at times that becomes something like daunting. That word just floated in, meaning it's not so easy at times to step into the fullness and to be what that is and what it calls us to do. And that it can call anything. So it's one of the ways I love the purpose of the Christ, is that it calls us into that which would be the love of God as a commandment, so that the Christ is fully in of that it takes on that command to love the Lord our God with everything we have. Let's face it, that's really what it translates to, that in any way we could do that. And I just look at, well, how would I do that if I don't know who the Lord God is, if I don't really have that awareness? So I see that as part of the purpose, is that I am to be awake and conscious, open and willing in the expression of my knowing, even if it's something that blows my mind. Like that I'm in something that my mind is saying, what are you doing? Who are you to say that? And my mind is capable of that I have something that we might say is like an anti-Christ or a loyal force of the opposition that would test us, that would challenge us. Who are you to speak with that authority? And then would find our tracks in the sand, find where we've come from, what we've done in our past. It's like, well, how could someone anointed of God have done those kinds of things or have that kind of history? And I just look at that something, well, there's a lot of things that I attribute to John Roger because he's been such a powerful influence in my life. But one of the things that he said was, Christ is forgiveness. And he said it in the place of my birth in this lifetime. How many know my place of birth? There you go. And where is that? Las Vegas, okay. We did one of our weddings in Las Vegas, but that's another story. But he did a seminar in Las Vegas, of all places. And it was on Easter Sunday. So I remember this. And there's somebody who was there. A few of us were there, and it was like the whatever you want to call it. Some people call it the city of sin, And my experience is, just because you do it in Vegas, don't think it doesn't leave Vegas. It has a way of tracking us down. Whatever we did in Vegas. In any case, that this consciousness is a consciousness that has grace, that's full of grace. And to me, that's one of the markings of God, is that it loves us regardless. So whatever our history, whatever we've done, and to me this becomes controversial, because then it's like, well, why would the Christ be hanging out with those people or somebody like that? That would be like a disqualifier according to certain people, according to their standards. That somebody anointed or elect of God then separates themselves out, that they're not part of certain situations or what people are doing. And to me, there's something about the Christ that it would embrace us at our worst moment. Like it would give us a hug when we're at our worst. I mean, when we've done the awfulest thing we could possibly do, it would kind of come up and embrace us, like take us in. I mean, there may be a talk afterwards, like, what were you thinking? I'm sure we've all had those talks at some point, if nothing else, from our own self, that we feel like, how could I do such a thing or say such a thing? And to me, this is where the Christ begins, at our worst. And so it really asks of us to turn to our holy of holies, whatever is our highest nature, and turn towards it in full and embrace it in full, that I am that in spite of what I've done that would seemingly cancel that, or in some way make that no longer true, that I'm not a good person, or I'm not loved or cherished by God because of what we've done. So in a way, we're a sinner's lot. That's part of it, is that we bring our sins into the anointing. But I think that's perfect, that there is a calling to repent. And what does that really mean? It's like come out. So if we're in hiding, or we're on the run, or on the lam. Did that phrase get invented in this country? I don't know, when someone's on the lam. But in any case, some part of me is going curious about that. But in any case, that we would come clean, that we would step upright and own our transgressions in the light of the Christ, that we would bring them like an offering to the Christ and place them before the Christ, like I've done all these things, and then experience that we're loved and forgiven, and also called into the straightness of what that is, to come alive in the Christ, so that we have a consciousness that the Master's presence wouldn't hurt someone. So if we manage to do that, it's like the angels are standing back. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but I've felt that, like I'm off on some limb and I'm hearing sawing behind me. And it's like, if you don't want to go, what's going to happen? You might want to come back here where the wisdom in you is standing here, like, what are you doing? Sometimes referred to as the angel at the gate, that knows, hey, that's not you, that's not who you are. And one of the teachings I find that's present here with the Master, the Master that's in our midst, is we can't step outside of perfection. That if it's somehow allowed in ourself and with anyone else or anything else, that somehow there's a good purpose that comes from it. And, that's where my mind gets blown, is when my mind wants to argue and say there couldn't possibly be good in such a person or such a situation. And I can think of ones that are fresh, that are in the world, that there's things going on where it's very difficult to love what that is. And what I've discovered is love has this ability beyond if we agree with it or not, or if it's correct, or it's really someone at their best. That it just has loving anyway. And so I just see that we have an opportunity here today, that I would want to experience that presence with you. I'd want to share it with you. And really, I don't look at it like I have it and you don't, or I have a lot more than you do. I have room for more. And part of it is I just know that if I don't share that Christ nature, that in some way it tends to recede in me. And so it is a calling, to choose back, to share this grace with you, and to accept that it's not just one, there's room for one more Christ in this room, and that's it. You know, that will fulfill the quota, and there won't be another Christ moment for 1,000 years. So who's it going to be? I don't see it like that. I see it as an unlimited opportunity, you know, for all of us to choose into that, so that we can do what was said. This too you shall do. So whatever the Christ has already done, and greater. And, you know, to me, that I experience we're in that. We are in the greater. And I certainly know that in the dimensions of who I am spiritually. I know it in what that is, and I experience that within, that entry, that door, that gate is inside. But I also look at it that I'm here to work it out in this world. That the Christ, that which is anointed and pure and holy of God, has come into this world, into the flesh. And that I have that responsibility, and I look that we all have that. Well, first maybe look at it as an opportunity, like, would you like to? And it's a free choice, that we don't have to step into it. And I think that's one of the things that makes it challenging, is that we can turn away. Even after we look or we step into it, we can turn away. And if you missed that part of JR's teachings, let me remind you, as long as we're in the flesh, we can turn, we can fall. I'm sure you remember that. And he spoke of that for himself. He spoke of all of us. But guess what? What he also said is, it doesn't matter how many times you fall, get up. And that's what I look at, that we're in the getting up movement. You know, and go, I'm still getting up. Like, you know, when am I up? I think that's a great question. And there's always room for more up in this world. And to set a new standard. And, you know, let's consider that's part of JR's challenge to us is, would you be willing to play a higher game than Jesus played? It's like, well, what are you talking about? A higher way of expressing it. Not as like, oh, I'm better than Jesus. I don't see it that way. I just see it as let's make it greater. That let's consider that's where we are now. That it wouldn't be just one, it would be many. And I heard Natalie tell us earlier, like, many are called and few are chosen because few choose back. Well, I don't care about the numbers or the odds or what the bookmaker would say to us about what are the odds. Let's consider there's room for all of us to choose into that and to play at that level out of a willingness. Here's something from JR that I consider as a golden teaching, because it's like one of those that rocked my world when I heard him say this. The willingness to do gives the ability to do. Everybody remember that one? Yeah. The willingness to do gives the ability to do. So the willingness is a key, a big giant key in what we're doing here. Like today with the Christ, what we're doing here is the willingness. And Jared was asking that question, and I just look at it. That question goes right through the middle of the movement of spiritual inner awareness and what we're doing individually. And even if it's just one of us that makes it, like one of us somehow becomes the Christ, to me that would be a great cause of celebration. You know, that we were amongst a living Christ in the flesh. And I look at that, that's the call in this movement. It's to step into the Christ. It's what we've been doing this year, in case you didn't get notified somehow. That before JR passed, JR talked about the conference, the Christ, which we did after he passed. and that this year, 2015, would be also dedicated. So we have a program called Intention, Hope, Openness, Health, and Prosperity. I hope I got it this time. Or maybe it's Opportunity. That's where I mix it up. But in any case, it's called the IHOP. How many of you have been doing that? Yeah. Okay. But the whole year of that seminar is dedicated to the Christ. So we're in that process, and we're going through our own version of step into it, become what that is, as a challenge into this movement. I don't look at like we were handed the keys to the Christ and too bad for the rest of the world. I look at this as something that's spiritually in an outpouring, not just in this year, but let's say the opportunity has opened up, that this world's in need of forgiveness right now. I mean, every day I think people are perpetrating things that, we would call for the law, we would call for the punishment, the condemnation. And let's consider that we're being asked to love our enemy, however that enemy might appear. And often they appear from within, which I think our friend Paul was pointing out to us today. The greatest enemy is within. But also we're called in the Christ to love that enemy. And how would we do that? I don't think it's a punch in the nose, unless that's a loving act. Anything else before we introduce them to our one-on-one process? Ta-da! Take it away.
After that, I'm full. No. Speechless. How about that?
Well, we do have a process prepared that would help all of us be more attuned and also express the Christ in a simple way. So Lee has been tagged to introduce us to that process.
I was tagged in the cab.
But I'm going to help you. We're going to do this together.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you all have? You do. I can see it on the floor.
You should have
Underneath
papers
your chair.
underneath your chair. And this will be a partner exercise.
Here, we can work with this just like they do.
Good. There you go. And the logistics. So on the paper, you'll notice that there are quotes of J.R. about the Christ, and underneath each quote is a question. So when we tell you to find a partner, you'll choose at that time who will go first. You'll get 10 minutes each. Take your time, go through any question. You don't have to do them in order. You can choose a quote that moves you or is intuitive, and then the question. And you'll just keep going within the 10-minute period. And when you hear the gong, you'll change, and your other partner will be just listening. So while that first part's going on, it isn't interactive. You'll be reading out loud the quote. You'll be speaking the question and answering the question. And you'll keep going through. And then when the gong comes, the other person will be doing the same, and you'll be listening. How's that?
Perfect. So let's do a demonstration.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes, I'm looking for quotes.
Well, they're right here.
Oh, yes, okay, I'll go with you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, yes, all right.
So I'll do a demonstration. So I'm going to start with number 3, just because I'd like to start with number 3. Or let's say Lee, who's doing the process, please start with number 3. Here's the quote from John Roger. When you judge yourself, feel bad about yourself, and think that you are not worthy or worthwhile, you're choosing the negative. You deny the grace of the Christ, which is available to you at all times. how could you open more fully to your worthiness?
Okay, this is revealing my misunderstanding of the exercise. I thought it was just that the person reads, they say it's just the other person listens through the whole thing. Are we changing it?
Well, let's say, it's like I'm now in a dicey question, like, how's the Christ within me looking through and answering this? It can work both ways. So when it's your turn, you can decide if you want to read the quote yourself, if you want to read the question yourself and answer the questions yourself, or you would like your partner to read the quote and the question for you, and then you would respond. So which preference?
Sounds good. I'd be happy to answer.
Would you like me to ask the question again?
Yes, please.
Okay. How could you open more fully to your worthiness?
Just, to me, it's just an awareness of the claiming that I am full with the Christ. And just let that be, let that resonate, let myself have the experience, knowing that the Christ is giving me the experience, and I'm willing, I'm open to receive it in that moment.
There's another question with that quote. How could you open more fully to the grace of the Christ?
Again, it's just opening my awareness because it's present. It's like seeing through the eyes of the Christ, claiming it, allowing myself to have that experience of letting the Christ see through me and experience that grace because it's present.
Okay. Then we could go on to the next quote. You could say any order, or you could call out a number, and then we'd read that quote and then do the questions. You'll have about 10 minutes. We'll start you with a gong, then the gong would go again when it's been 10 minutes. Then you're going to be switching up roles. So each person has a 10-minute period to have the quotes read and then to have the questions asked, and then you respond. And then you can repeat. So if the 10 minutes is continuing and you've addressed all 4 quotes and the questions, you could keep going and repeat any one of the quotes and questions. Now, any questions or concerns about the process? How to do it logistically? Okay. So now you're going to find
a partner.
You can move your chairs or move chairs around because it'd be good for you to face your partner. Anybody looking for a partner? And if you are, stand up. If you're looking for a partner, raise your hand.
Right here, Sheila. This gentleman.
Anybody else still looking for a partner? Okay. The next part is we're going to bring forward more awareness with the light, including the light of the Christ.
Are you two going to do the process together?
Yeah.
Can you face each other a little more?
Sure.
Yes.
Ideally,
it'll work better.
It works best if you
you
look into each other's face and eyes.
And eyes, yes.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're going to... There's something you're playing? It's a video? Oh, okay. Thank you for catching that. So first of all, we're going to have everyone watch a moment with John Roger again. We're going to turn on the projector. We're ready.
The body is the big loser.
El cuerpo es el gran perdedor.
And we pay so much attention to it.
Y le prestamos tanta atención.
Think of this in a new way.
Piensa de esto de otra manera nueva.
Universal intelligence.
Inteligencia universal.
Many of them intelligences.
Muchas de esas inteligencias.
We're sitting talking.
Estamos sentados hablando.
They said we have a perfect universe.
Y dicen, tenemos un universo perfecto.
It is the best.
Es el mejor.
But what do we do with it?
Pero ¿qué hacemos con él?
Let's make a planet.
Vamos a construir un planeta.
Let's call it Earth.
Llamémosle planeta mundo.
We will make it perfect.
Lo vamos a hacer perfecto.
It will be like us.
Será como nosotros.
It'll grow, it'll change.
Crecerá, cambiará.
It will multiply.
Multiplicará.
It will be beautiful.
Será bellísimo.
Now we have a problem.
Y ahora tenemos un problema.
Who should we put there to enjoy it?
¿A quién colocamos ahí para que lo disfrute?
So they said, let's put all these animals.
Bueno, vamos a colocar todos estos animales ahí.
So animals do what animals do.
Así que los animales hacen lo que los animales
Before
hacen.
long, the intelligences got bored.
Y en poco tiempo se aburrieron las inteligencias.
They said, all those lions do are chase.
Y dijeron, lo único que hacen los leones es perseguir a otros.
All the elephants do are eat trees and poop.
Todo lo que los elefantes hacen es comerse los árboles y defecar.
Boring.
Qué aburrido.
Let's put a human being down there.
Pongamos a un ser humano ahí.
But they'll be just like these other animals.
Pero van a ser iguales que los demás animales.
Let's give them a mind.
Démosle a ellos una mente.
In that mind,
Y en esa mente
we will insert
vamos a insertar
what we call free will.
lo que llamamos la voluntad.
We know it's free choice.
Sabemos que es una opción, una elección libre.
None of us have free will.
Nadie de nosotros tenemos libre albedrío.
If you have free will,
Si tienes libre albedrío,
right now,
en este momento,
lift up out of your chair and float across the room.
ponte de pie y flota por este salón.
Will yourself to do that.
Dispónete con esa voluntad de hacerlo.
Now,
Ahora, ya.
I didn't do it either.
Yo tampoco lo hice.
So it's a choice.
Así que es una opción que tienes.
Sometimes I get my choice,
A
sometimes
veces
I don't.
logro lo que elijo y a veces no.
But they said,
Pero dicen,
if they know
dijeron, si ellos saben
in their mind
en sus mentes
that they are the intelligences that created all this,
que son las inteligencias que crearon todo esto,
they will tune into us
van a sintonizarse con nosotros
and they will know it's all perfect.
y van a saber que todo está perfecto.
So,
Así que
let's throw down confusion,
vamos a arrojarles un poquito de confusión,
some illusions for them.
ilusioncitas para ellos.
And we will have people teach them the illusions so they get them good.
Y vamos a lograr que otras personas les enseñen las ilusiones para que lo aprendan bien.
And let's give them doubt.
Y vamos a darle dudas
So when they think they've got it,
para que cuando piensen que ya lo
They'll
lograron,
doubt it.
lo van a dudar
and they won't do it.
y no lo van a hacer.
Otherwise,
De otra forma,
they will know that they are the universal intelligences.
sabrán que ellos mismos son las inteligencias universales.
And they'll know that this life is perfect.
Y sabrán que esta vida es perfecta.
And they'll go along singing, dancing,
Van a andar cantando, bailando,
knowing full well the universe gives everything.
sabiendo muy bien que el universo lo da todo.
Then it'll be boring again.
Y luego de nuevo va a ser aburrido.
So what they said,
Así que lo que dijeron,
let us go down
bajemos
ourselves
nosotros mismos
and take these bodies
y tomar posesión de estos cuerpos
and live in these worlds.
y vivir en estos mundos.
And we'll set up rules and
Y
regulations.
vamos a establecer reglas y
Called
leyes
karma.
llamadas karma
That'll make us behave.
para que eso nos haga comportarnos.
When we're happy only so long,
Y cuando estemos felices nada más por un tiempo,
the karma hits us
luego el karma nos golpea
out of nowhere.
de la nada, de donde salga.
We don't know what happened.
No supimos ni qué pasó.
We feel like a victim.
Nos sentimos como
We
víctimas.
blame everybody.
Culpamos a todos.
But it doesn't go away.
Pero no se va
It
esto.
doesn't get better.
No se mejora.
So we stop blaming.
Así que dejamos de culpar.
Now we're starting to act like the universe.
Ahora estamos empezando a actuar como el universo.
The universe doesn't blame.
El universo no culpa.
All it does
Lo
is
único que hace
give.
es dar.
The universe is instantly forgiving.
El universo es instantáneamente perdonador.
But since we have this ability to choose,
Pero como tenemos esta habilidad de escoger
and we are the universal intelligences,
y somos las inteligencias universales,
another word that called God,
o sea, otra palabra para ello es
another word for
Dios,
that called the divine,
otra palabra para ello llamado lo divino,
and it's in us,
y está dentro de
as
nosotros,
us.
como nosotros.
And we have confused our own selves.
Y nos hemos confundido a nosotros mismos.
There is one law in the universe
Porque hay una ley en el universo
that if you break it, you're not forgiven
que
it.
si la rompes, no se te perdona.
You cannot lie to yourself.
No puedes mentirte
You
a ti
cannot
mismo.
be dishonest to
No
yourself.
puedes ser deshonesto contigo mismo.
And who is that self?
¿Y quién es ese ser?
If we all say, I am,
Si todos decimos yo soy,
it is all the same self.
todo es el mismo ser.
We can lie to the mind, the emotion, and the body,
Podemos mentirle al cuerpo, a la mente y a las emociones,
but when you lie to that spirit,
pero cuando le mientes a ese espíritu,
it is not forgotten.
no se olvida.
You must at some point
Debes en algún momento
come back to the truth inside of you.
regresar a la verdad dentro de ti.
When you do,
Cuando lo hagas,
joy comes into your
el
life.
gozo entra a tu vida.
You do not have to
No
apologize.
tienes que pedir disculpas.
You share the joy.
Compartes el gozo.
Then they are very happy that you're in their life.
Luego ellos están muy felices que tú estás en su vida.
It's not hard to do.
No es difícil hacer.
But once the mind has been trained
Pero una vez que la mente ha sido entrenada
into a certain belief,
a ciertas creencias,
that belief runs our life.
esa creencia maneja nuestras vidas.
There's only one thing to believe in.
Solo hay una cosa a creer,
The universe is perfect.
que el universo es perfecto.
I am perfect.
Yo soy perfecto.
I am this universe.
Yo soy este universo.
I am the spirit.
Yo soy el espíritu.
I am also all of these spirits.
También soy todos estos espíritus.
And all these spirits are me.
Y todos estos espíritus son yo.
We are intelligences.
Somos inteligencias.
And in that,
Y en ello,
joy comes up.
el gozo sube.
Joy is aliveness.
El gozo es vida.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Bashan.
John Roger. Translated into Spanish. In any case, that was a little bit of a preparation for you. Would you call us forward in the light, and then we'll set the gong so you can begin.
So if we'll just close our eyes and bring yourself into the intention of the Christ, Father, Mother, God. We call ourselves forward now into the light of the Holy Spirit. And we call ourselves forward as well into the Christ consciousness, the mystical traveler and the preceptor consciousness. We send the light to our beloved John Roger. And we're so grateful for the presence of this traveler, John Morton. Father, we ask to be brought in ever closeness to the Christ within. We ask for a blessing on this exercise. We place it all in the light, and in your name, Baruch Bashan.
Baruch Bashan. We're anticipating that we're going to hear a gong, and that would start you, but there it is. Okay.
So you can bring that to a close and come into the silence. Take a moment, now that you're going to change partners, to call in the light for each other. Change roles, sorry. Change roles. No. And when you hear the gong after you call in the light, which is right now, then you can begin. Next partner, next role. Okay. So we'll bring that to a close and thank your partners. And you can turn your chairs a little more toward the front. Doesn't have to be exact, but just turn towards the front. So we're now going to be doing a closed eye process. And we're going to take some of the awarenesses. Yes?
Just making sure you're all taken care of here.
Oh, I'm so well taken care of. Thank you.
Do you have any music you're going to play, or are you just going to do a cappella?
Do you have some soft music for the closed eye? Really soft? Okay, great. That'd be great. Thank you, John. So we're going to take some of the awarenesses that we've garnered through the exercise. So make yourself comfortable and bring yourself into quiet in your own silence. And this is that beautiful Christ sacred silence. And consider that this process is an invitation to come into deeper and greater contact with the inner Christ. Lord God, in your presence, we give thanks that you have invited us to have a direct experience of the Christ within. And we know this comes in a perfect way. Understanding the conditions in our lives, our past actions, all of our preparation. We are aware that the consciousness we call the traveler is doing this for those who are prepared, ready, or chosen. Each one of us here is chosen to come directly into that place within to meet up with a consciousness that is the Christ, beloved. Consider that this is something very personal, and maybe it's just for you. And there may be others who are with you, who are already present in this inner place with you, or who are still coming. This is a gathering of those who have been called. So see this place within you clearly. It's a very natural setting, a place that is protected, very private, sacred. Everyone here has come openly and willingly. You are free of any restrictions. Feel the joy, the peacefulness, the harmony. You might hear laughter, singing. This is joy being shared, a gladness at meeting again. In this gathering with us is the one we know as Jesus. This may be something very personal, just you and Jesus. There's a great openness to embrace you from Jesus. He takes you in. You feel the loving. It's a deeply personal loving. You feel the presence of the holy. You feel the forgiveness. Whatever has transpired, whatever has been done by you or anyone else, it's all now held in the love of the Christ. It's held in the forgiveness of the Christ. You are aware of what remains to be done in your life in this world. Take it in. If you have questions, they're answered by the Christ. If you need to know, it's shown to you by the Christ. If there is any concern about others, those you love, or even those you fear, you are shown how that is something the Christ can always handle with strength, wisdom, and most of all, the loving and the caring. All are loved in this consciousness. There is a putting aside now of negative forms that create pain and suffering. Just put them aside. The negative forms are not in this place. For here is the beloved of God and the fullness of all that can be. What is in your heart to express? Look into the eyes of the Christ and express what needs to be said. And even if it's not said, it's understood. All that needs to be shared is exchanged. There is an opportunity now for you to take on this consciousness and walk in the beloved. Walk as one who is anointed, as one who has opened up your true nature, and you have been entrusted with the gifts, the abilities that come from Spirit. Be conscious of these gifts in you and how they are to be shared. You are the servant of the Most High, sharing what is intended in perfect ways and in perfect timing. You know what cooperation is. You know what understanding is. The Christ within you is within all. You experience the gifts that come with empathy, knowing the other is in you. Right now you are shown how to love them in a way that will open their heart so that their heart is shared with yours, and all is forgiven. You see this all around with everyone and everything. Your awareness and experience has always been available to you to come within the full experience of the Christ. And now is the moment. Now you bring your openness your willingness to meet the Christ in full communion. And it is done. We take this moment in thankfulness and the words we so love that mean it is fully present. Berush Bishan.
Maybe now you have a deeper experience of the Christ within. So I just want to make sure you acknowledge that for yourself, however that is taking place for you in this moment. With an opportunity also that it can be without, not meaning like you're without it, it's missing or something like that, but it's something that you would take outside. Certainly outside where you are in the world. That would include right now that you're in this place, this setting. Some of you are with us by the opportunity that comes through the technology. I did want to take a pause moment, that it's like forward march or onward Christian soldiers or something like that. If there is anything like a question, a hesitation, a doubt, a fear, that we could address it. So I especially want to do that. So I see someone's hand over here. And if you would just start out with your name and whatever your concern is.
Hi, John. It's
Hi.
Ginny. I feel a little embarrassed to say this, but I don't really know what the Christ is. Like, I really get God, I really get Jesus, and really like Jesus, and I really get the light. What is the Christ consciousness?
Well, let's consider what's left, and somewhere.
Or is it all of those?
Somewhere in this equation, yes, is you. So it's inclusive of you. So then it becomes something like I am the light. You could say I'm God, and that maybe the simplest way to say that is I am. Whatever your experience is, whatever is present, that you would have an openness toward what that is. It gets lost in the translation. So, like me trying to interpret it to you, there's something where we would have the opportunity to experience it in what I would call communion, that we recognize that we're sharing the experience. And often my experience with that is no words are necessary when we're in that. In fact, they would kind of interfere or distract us to try to speak it. And, that it's what Jer called the one accord. There's some seminars with that name on it, or at least a couple that I'm recalling now. So, and one also called Doubting the Ever-Present Christ, where he talks about when the followers, after Jesus was crucified, were in the upper room. And this is one of those moments where he appeared on the day of Pentecost, which was about 40 days after, the crucifixion. So it was one of those things that they came into a consciousness where all the differences were no more. The misunderstandings, the hesitations, the doubts, everything that we could imagine would be going on like what happened and what do we do now? And we're in a following here, you know, and I look at, we're still in that. We're still in the following, but the invitation is to join in, to become what that is for you, and each person needs to determine that for yourself. But I just look at it, it's like, how would the divine get into the flesh? And I look at the Christ is that opening, you know, is that awareness, that we would be very conscious of the light. So then the statement, I am the light. Okay, that's saying the light and I are one. So it's a radiation. And I look at that radiation as something that doesn't need words and doesn't need an explanation. It doesn't need acknowledgement, doesn't need a witness. So it is a presence that we then experience. And then the words go away, so we don't have to have a label. It doesn't have to be spelled a particular way or pronounced a particular way. It is what it is. But it would come in how we treat one another. Like, how would they know you are following in what I'm doing? That we love one another and that loving is complete. And that's that one accord, is there's some amazing loving going on. Like, weren't these two enemies, you know? And it's like, well, now they're the best of friends. They're somehow lovers of each other. And that to me is part of what it is, that we get to that presence that has to be demonstrated in some way in order for us to really know what it is. I have a sense that you are in experience right now.
Yeah.
Since you've been standing up.
Yeah, I am a bit, and I am in an experience, and I feel like I know what the experience is, and I know what the experience is that I want more of. And does it matter whether I call it the Christ consciousness? Because
I don't really think it needs that. But it's like, if we had the coin of the realm, and that exchanges, or that brings it across. So if I need to say Christ in order to bridge whatever that gap is, that I would cross over, or I would let the Christ in, or I would let the Christ out, then I'll say Christ.
And it would be different from talking about the light.
I don't know that it is different. I look at it that the light, there's a radiation of the Christ, so that there's a light of Christ. And again, I do see it as something that translates into us, so that we're receptacles. You know, we're holders. We're instruments.
Do you know, I just realised when I get really into those sort of literal questions, then it takes me out of the experience I was having with you. And I have got that kind of brain about language. I get really hung up on it, and it does take me out of the experience of the present. So, sorry to interrupt you. I just really noticed that.
No, let's consider we're in one consciousness is speaking here, and two or more. So what does it matter who the instrument is, if that consciousness is in some way revealing itself? Then it becomes something that transcends the mind. Although I really consider the mind can, in its own way, be a witness, so that we can bring along the mind to the moment of transfiguration, when something majestic is appearing before us and revealing what it is. And then someone nearby is saying, flesh and blood isn't revealing that to you. But what it is revealing itself. And in a way, part of that was Jesus was in flesh and blood, so the awareness is, the revelation is coming in a way that it's direct. That you know it from within. And then there was a moment there like, this is sacred, so it's not for you to speak until I think the Son of Man, I don't remember the exact words that were spoken at that moment, but until it's revealed in full, like the job is done. It's finished. And then, look what they got called into. They got called into being witnesses and testifying. And for the most part, they had to testify with their life, like they were called into the full measure of testifying. And so then earlier I was saying, don't be surprised when it calls you forward in all that you have, that you would not be able to hold anything back from what is asked of you. And then there's something I experienced, that when you have that willingness to present all of yourself, give all of yourself, you're set free. So you don't have to, which is really odd. To me, it's the moment that was demonstrated with Abraham and the willingness to sacrifice his son. And then notice, in geographical terms, it was very close to where Jesus was crucified, within maybe 100 or 200 meters or something like that. In case you didn't realize that before.
No.
Yeah. So Mount Moriah is where the temple of Israel was built. So the temple that Jesus was preaching in, and then when the high priests were allowed to go into that part of the temple, the Holy of Holies, well, that's where the Western Wall is, or the Wailing Wall. It's right at that point. Only the temple has come down for the most part. And then Jesus said, I'm not referring to a temple like that, I'm referring to this temple. But in 3 days it will rise up. Just filling in a few of the blanks here. Anything else?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great question. With our timing, and then if you do have questions, I'll be here for a moment or so, unless I need to clear myself, which sometimes I do need to do that. I'd like to complete with some more words and really a demonstration from John Roger. And you would recognize it as something attributed to St. Patrick, but that we all can do as a claiming, as a declaration. So there is an opportunity for you to kind of sing along with John Roger when you do this, when he does this, I should say, in the video. And that will be the completion of what we have to share with you today with Christ Within. And then for those of you who are on soul awareness discourses, which really could be anybody in this room or in the miracle of timing, if you watch this and you came here and we're still here, you could come in as a soul awareness discourse subscriber watching the video. We might be here, you never know, even days, weeks, months later. So there we go. And dear Lord, we thank you for calling us into your presence once again and revealing that you are always with us, stride for stride, breath for breath. So we're never alone, that you show us that it's a whole presence, so we're not forsaken or forgotten, that we're always remembered in this presence of the Christ, and that you reveal that we too can hold into this consciousness, that we make it come forth and resurrect from within, that we are alive in the Christ forevermore. Berush Beshan.
The esoteric Christ came for all of humanity. And the cosmic Christ is here. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ when I lie down, Christ when I sit down, Christ when I arise, Christ in the heart of every man who thinks of me, Christ in the sight of each eye that shall seek me, in each ear that shall hear me, in each mouth that shall speak me, Christ not the less in each heart I address, with the faith in the Trinity, God over all. Berush Beshem.